Ladies and gentlemen, this is the Essential Wrestling Podcast. I am Ryan Joy filling in for Al Karl once again, and I am flanked by John Smith and John DeCani. Guys, we're here. It's the new year. We're celebrating. We are on the 29th anniversary of Ric Flair's historic Royal Rumble victory. And our friend, our comrade, who is not here with us today, is currently 31-0 in his Pro Wrestling Pick'em Essential Wrestling Podcast League. He said to me today, to the Joys and the DeCanis and the Smiths and the Mehaffys, now it's Al Karl, and you will all pay homage to the man. Woo. And you can see the leaderboard there. He is sitting on top, John DeCani. What will you do now to steal back your title?
I'm always better in the chase, right? Like the baby face is always better in the chase. I'm okay with that.
There you go.
Hey, you know what? Those 31 matches are worth the same as one championship match at WrestleMania, though. So you can make it up in one match.
Exactly.
There you go. And we will plan to do that. Without further ado, folks, like I said, this is the Essential Wrestling Podcast. All right, we have a full show today. We have the Dusty Rhodes Tag Team Classic is chugging along. Darby Allin is still your TNT champion. Gary Mehaffy is back to discuss the NXT UK Championship matches this week. Travis Severance will join me today to discuss New Japan MLW. I am going to reveal number 11 on Al Karl's top 30 favorite WrestleMania matches as we continue to count down to the Showcase of the Immortals in April now. Make sure to stay tuned to the end of the show to hear the details on how to win the Jim the Anvil Neidhart autographed picture, courtesy of Sideline Sports and WWE memorabilia. We make our picks for all of this week's matches, presented by Minutes to Bell Time and sponsored by Pro Wrestling Pick'em. We will main event the show with Alexa's big win over Asuka, and we will curtain jerk the show with Impact's Hard to Kill in the huge 6-man interpromotional tag team match. Okay, Hard to Kill. Show kicks off. We've got our first two matches. Decay defeated Tennille Dashwood and Caleb with a K with a double green mist. Decay's entrance is the story here, right? I mean, Rosemary was great, but now we have two of them, we think. Violent by Design, they defeated Tommy Dreamer, Rhino, and Cousin Jake, and we have some fallout from that in a match we'll be picking in a little bit. But John Takani, we have new Knockouts Tag Team Champions.
We certainly do, and we have yet another team to be given an official name. They are Fire and Flava, Steels and Hogan. So this was not my pick, whereas it was Josh Matthews' pick from the very beginning. I assumed that was kind of the guy who knows what's going to happen, throwing us off. But nope, it played out just as Josh had predicted. Fire and Flavor beat Havoc and Nevaeh. We had Havoc putting on a couple of real shows of strength here, grabbing both her opponents as they dove out of the corner, catching them both, stacking them up together for a double full-away slam. She hit double one-arm power bombs out of the corner later on. And she was setting up Kiera Hogan for the double-team finisher, had her kind of in a wheelbarrow carry. When Hogan wiggled out, she hit a stunner and a super kick to send Havoc to the floor. And then Hogan hit that fisherman's neck breaker on Nevaeh at about the 10-minute mark for the championship. And the brand new Knockouts Tag Team Championship titles were delivered by Madison Rayne and Gail Kim to Tasha Steelz and Kiera Hogan.
And Tasha Steelz, a Jersey girl, if you will. And we go from, and that was not the only Knockouts Championship match that night, and it was not the only Jersey girl to walk out of Impact Hard to Kill with Knockouts Championship gold, John.
You are correct. We had Deonna Purrazzo defending against Taya Valkyrie. Deonna was joined by Kimberly and Susan, and Taya had both members of Decay with her. But there was a little bit of chaos early in the match, and probably at the 2-minute mark, the ref tossed all members away from ringside. We did get a little glimpse into the Susan gimmick. I wasn't sure if she was just going to be kind of the uptight librarian type, but she started filming as the referee, filming on her cell phone. So she is going full on stereotypical Karen. So I'm very much looking forward to the first time she gets a slow count in the ring and asks to speak to the referee's manager. So that's just a little something for down the road for you. But back to the match, Deonna and Taya Valkyrie. Deonna starts working arm and the elbow very early. Which she at one point after doing the joint manipulation, stomping on the arm, she grabs a single leg crab with Taya's arm tucked behind her knee and really gives her a good stretch. Then she starts working the legs. Taya has a little bit of a comeback. She hit a move that looked a lot like the Wicked Stepsister, and then put Deonna into a modified STF. But Taya shortly thereafter was limping badly after Deonna had worked on her legs, and Deonna went for a tilt-a-whirl that she managed to move into an armbar. She grabbed the second arm, tucked it behind for the Venus de Milo, and Taya had no choice but to give the verbal tap out around the 12-minute mark, and Deonna retains.
It's interesting. I didn't know if there was some visible bruising on Taya's elbow, which I don't know if that was like a convenient injury to go along with the Venus de Milo, or if she was legitimately hurt. But if it was not legitimate injury, then I guess good on them for working that in.
It was absolutely.
Say it again, John.
They got one good shot of it, and her elbow was entirely purple. So yeah, if that was makeup, it did an excellent job.
Yeah, if it wasn't, and I was Taya, I'm like, can we change the finish of this match so I have to sit in that double Fujiwara for the whole end of the match? But
no kid.
John Smith going from the knockouts over to the X division. We had a triple threat X division championship match where Manic, to our surprise, walked away with the championship.
Yeah, but before all that happened, Ace Austin came out and declared that since he's the Super X Cup winner, champion, whatever you want to call it, that he should be a part of this match and it should be a 4-way, to which D'Amore comes out and tells him, much respect, yada, yada, but, that's not on our schedule today. But I have an opponent for you. And woo, woo, woo. Here comes Matt Cardona. After only a couple minutes, Madman Fulton gets involved, and there's a disqualification. But, just the fact that Cardona was around, it looks like he's actually signed there. I'm not 100% sure on that, but I think he is. So, we'll get to see all the Zack Ryder fans of the world. They got to learn a new name. It's Matt Cardona, and he's on Impact. Get your Twitch downloaded.
This might be the first time in the history of the Essential Wrestling Podcast where we have done both a Ric Flair woo and a Zack Ryder woo woo woo. So
now, do we need a Sting alternate woo at some point later?
Well, let's save that for later in the show. We almost have to do it now.
We'll see if it happens organically, and if not, I'll just scream it at the end.
Okay, sounds good.
All right. And so then we move forward to the X Division championship match. Manic defending against Chris Bay and Al Carl's favorite, Rohit Raju. I was the only one to pick Rohit. I lost because Manic won, and Al was the only one to pick Manic, which I don't understand where they're going with this now that he's been unmasked. His face was painted, but it was clearly him. It was, it wasn't, some weirdo face paint like Jeff Hardy. You could clearly tell who was under the paint.
Right.
It was a quick roll-up victory while the mask ordeal was happening. kind of crappy end to a really good match because they were all over the place, and it wasn't like a spot fest, but there was a lot of spots going on. It was just good chemistry between the three of them.
Absolutely. John DeConnie, we had for the first time in a long time a barbed wire match on this show.
Yes, indeed. We had Eddie Edwards and Sami Callihan to end their feud with Barbed Wire Massacre. Just the idea of the setup, it was very rare. I hadn't seen a previous one, so if you haven't seen a previous one, the setup was such where the first set of ropes as you come down the ramp were kind of spooled with barbed wire. The far side, there was nothing, but there was some barbed wire just outside of it. Left side of the ring, the heart was a quarter of a steel cage with barbed wire run through it and some items of plunder hanging off of it. And then the right side of the ring had kind of a metal chain clothesline where they hung kendo stick wrapped in barbed wire, baseball bat wrapped in barbed wire, chair wrapped in barbed wire, and lest we forget, a Nintendo 64 controller wrapped in barbed wire. Because why not?
Well, if you need to take a break during the match, yes.
Yeah, you know, if you're going to have to entertain yourself in the middle of that brutality, that's a good way to go. Okay, so we have Eddie, of course, will get hit with the N64 controller wrapped in barbed wire fairly early on. Eddie would then hit a blue thunder bomb onto the wire-wrapped chair. Then he and Sami both went to the clothesline. Sami grabbed the kendo stick. Eddie grabbed the bat. And since they are each other's gimmick, they kind of paused for a second, looked at each other, and very politely traded their items of plunder. And then went on to beating the hell out of each other with them. Eddie took kind of an ugly bump where he was up on the turnbuckle next to the chain link and kind of got shoved off and clotheslined or snake-eyed across the chain. That did not look pleasant. Sami attempted the baseball bat to the chair to the face, giving a call back to their most famous match where he almost killed him. But Eddie would eventually hit the Boston Knee Party, aided by the barbed wire wrapped chair, and then the cross-legged Emerald Flosion to the barbed wire chair and a board with spools of barbed wire that had been set up in the corner. And supposedly, of course, the barbed wire was missing, but that was a callback to his championship win of the Global Honor Crown in Japan. And he would get the win here in roughly 20 minutes.
You know, if that brutality of that match wasn't enough, John Smith, take us through the Karate Man.
Oh, man. I don't know about you guys, but this is my favorite cinematic match of all time. Not the best. I would probably say the Undertaker and AJ probably would win that, but this is my absolute favorite. I was hysterical the whole time. It was exactly what you imagined it to be, just like him splicing himself, fighting himself in multiple backgrounds. They're here, they're there, they're everywhere. You know, ducks and dodges. It was awesome. And then Karate Man ends up with a busted lip. Then he turns it on and ends up ripping Ethan Page's heart out after all is said and done and walks away with it. So now Ethan Page is dead and Karate Man lives on, but I don't think we're going to get either of them in Impact anymore.
Well, I'm glad we had you talk through that because honestly, in everything I've seen, you might be the only person that I've seen that really is over the moon about it. I've seen a lot of hate spewed, including from Ethan Page himself. So I'm glad that
I read that he was unhappy with the way they edited it and cut it, and that it didn't need to be presented as such a comedic act because just the fact that it was what it was made it funny enough. Than to have it be more serious, he felt would have been better. Maybe it would have been. Maybe he can go ahead and release that to us one day. The unedited version, the studio cut or whatever you want to call it.
Well, what's interesting is he may have been thinking, "Oh, I can never make a return to Impact now because my heart's been ripped out." But there is the whole undead realm to support every turn. So I don't think that just because Ethan Page was killed off doesn't mean anything in Impact Wrestling. Okay, well, we have the main event left, and it was the buzz of wrestling for quite some time, John DeConnie. Bullet Club getting the win over Rich Swann, Moose, a late last-minute substitution, and Chris Sabin.
Yes, sir. Yeah, we had this was the talk of the wrestling world, as you said. We had Don Callis doing Kenny's intro. And Justin Roberts has nothing to worry about. He has nothing on him. I mean, for God's sakes, he didn't even mention North Carolina. Kenny came out sporting the Bullet Club Halloween T-shirt from back in the day, which, of course, gave me a chuckle as a Chris Jericho fan because I could hear in my head Jericho referring to the AEW champion as a pumpkin-headed dipshit.
And there's the explicit.
The match started out. Yes, sorry about that. So they did a good job early on in the match with the pairings. We had Sabin and Anderson start. Then Moose and Gallows got to lock horns and just slap each other around a little bit. Then we got what we really wanted, Kenny and Swann for a while. We had Swann and Sabin working really well together. They, a couple of tandem moves that were very impressive. Then we had a weird spot where Kenny gave Gallows a piggyback. And Anderson would then jump on for a triple splash on Swann in the middle of the ring. We had Moose land a nasty discus clothesline on Kenny Omega for a 2 count. And as I'm watching it, I don't know why. It was way too early in the match. But for half a second, it was so I thought for a second it could get the pinfall. And I said out loud and wound up putting in my notes. Could you imagine if Moose had gotten the pinfall on Kenny Omega?
Oh, man. There's your Revolution match.
There you go. So then we got Kenny goes to the top, and Moose follows him up there. I mean, just what an athlete Moose is. He was up there in, just a jump right to the top a la Kurt Angle, and they pulled off a standing Spanish fly from the top turnbuckle. We had Sabin fight out of the Magic Killer to tag in Swann. Doc tagged in Omega. Omega hit a nasty Snapdragon, followed by a Tiger Driver 98. Sabin broke up the pin at 2. Swann hit a Poison Rana, a couple of head kicks, and a 450 splash for a 2 count on Omega. Then he went for the Phoenix Splash, which missed. Suffered a Magic Killer. Moose made the save on that pin attempt. Kenny came back in for a V-trigger, which took Moose out. Then a V-trigger and a one-wing and angle on Swann for the win in about 22 minutes. In the finish, I kind of saw coming, but didn't see coming. We all kind of thought Omega would be the one to get the pin, and Omega's team would win. I did not see him pinning Rich Swann. I assumed Sabin would take the fall.
Yeah, we all kind of battered that around a bit about how this match was going to end. And I don't think anybody quite picked that it would be Omega getting a victory over Rich Swann. But I guess it sets up a future program, so I would imagine this relationship must continue. Now, we don't have anything advertised related to Kenny Omega for tonight's Impact Wrestling, at least not as of the time that we went on the air. But what we do have are a couple of matches that are coming out of Hard to Kill. Namely, first, we have Eric Young versus Rhino. And I'll start with you, John Smith. Who do you think has the edge in this match?
Eric Young has the edge in this match because of his disciples or whatever you might want to call them. But I'm going to go with Rhino because I think he's going to have a couple guys even the playing field for him and maybe score a random gore victory.
All right. How about it, John DeConnie? Do you think that it's Rhino is going to turn things around and start heading things in the other direction?
Something tells me, and this is based on absolutely nothing but the fact that I realized we haven't seen him in a while. Well, what if Heath kind of pops up out of nowhere tonight? Like maybe all 6 guys come down to ringside, the 4 extra fellas get kicked out fairly early on for trying to interfere. And we think we're going to get a one-on-one, and then Heath shows up and helps Rhino take EY down.
So your official pick is Rhino.
That'll be my pick.
So I'm torn on this because I think you guys are presenting good arguments, but I don't see Eric Young taking a pin here, and I also, I wouldn't see Joe Doring or Diener taking a pin right now because they're going through a character change and a new character coming in, and then EY is kind of a level above, I think, where the others are. So I'm going to stick with Eric Young, and we'll see who gets the victory there. But there is one other match. And I don't have a Susan illustration yet, but I do have Sue Young with Kimberly. She'll be teaming with to face Jordan Grace and Jazz, who is not pictured here. Jordan Grace and Jazz are down 0-1 for the year. John DeConnie, who do you think?
I want to go with Jordan and Jazz. I'm going to go with Jordan and Jazz. The hell with it. There's no point on my here. I would almost expect Susan in her debut in ring with the new gimmick to get the win, but give me Jordan and Jazz.
John Smith, Sue Young has a last name, and it's Young. Susie and Susan, not sure. What say you?
I got nothing for you there, man. Sue, maybe they just spell it different ways. Like Sue, the current one spells it with a J, like J-U-N-G. I don't know. I'm going with Jazz and Jordan.
Okay. I'm gonna go against you guys again, and I'm gonna go ahead and pick Sue Young Susan and Kimberly. Kimberly has a win over Taya Valkyrie last week, and Susan's a new character, so that's my justification. All right, guys, thank you. That's the end of our Impact discussion. I'm going to send you back to get groceries, John Smith, and pick me up a water, will you? I'm getting thirsty. Bring in Gary Mehaffy, and we're going to talk about NXT UK. Gary, welcome.
There we go.
Get these name tags straight. Oh, that's not right. Ryan and Gary. There we go. Okay. Welcome to the show, Gary.
Thank you very much. Good to be here. I need to start drinking coffee. I'm the only teacher, I think, in the world that doesn't drink tea or coffee. I rarely drink tea. And I'm starting to get to this time of night. I get a little bit. Yeah. So I need to start drinking more coffee, I think.
Well, on the subject of coffee, and I don't know if you intentionally did this or not, but Joe Coffey hit Best of the Bells to get a pinfall victory over somebody named Ed Harvey. Or was it not Ed Harvey?
I know. I was looking back in my notes, like in about the middle of October, I got word that the NXT UK had signed or were going to sign a couple of guys, and Shah was one of the guys who was on the radar. And I thought, okay. And in fact, I think it was either the day before or the day of the show, they had actually trademarked his name. And I thought, okay, great. Here we are. And then when they appeared on NXT UK as Ed Harvey, no entrance music, just in the ring, I was like, what is going on now? I know they tried to do the mic drop type segment in the middle of the match. Because Shah is a pretty big signing, and I will say he has got himself into shape. I have never seen him in all the years that I've been watching him. He has got himself into really, really good shape for this run. So, I mean, they did give him a bit. He got a good bit of offense, and it was a decent match. They got enough offense in that you could think, okay, maybe they'll do something with him down the line. But obviously, at the minute, they are putting full steam behind Joe. So therefore, as you say, when he got the finish, but it was good to see him going, and it's been good to see them debut a few new guys on the roster over the last few weeks. So,
it's kind of like we saw with Ben Carter last week, right? He debuts against Jordan Devlin. Not a bad spot to be in. Joe Coffey is considered, one of the top 5 guys probably in NXT UK. So to debut in a match against him isn't necessarily, debut in a losing match against him isn't necessarily, a signal that he's going to be a job guy or anything, right?
No, definitely. So I'd say it's good to see him. It's good to see him get a chance. He's been about for a long time in the UK scene, and a lot of people know him. So hopefully he'll draw more eyeballs to the product. So
sure. So from there, we had Pretty Deadly looking to get a tag team title match, and they were discussing this with Sid Scala, and Sid Scala happened to be working on just that very thing at that time. And I guess not this week, not this Thursday, but the following, there is going to be a 4-way tag team title opportunity match. And I don't have a graphic for this, and usually we would pick this next week, and that's fine, but I'm not probably going to get a chance to talk to you about this next week, so I want to ask you today, who do you think walks away from this 4-way with the tag title opportunity?
I don't. I was looking at that earlier on. I've written it down here, and I kind of all question marks. I do think that Oliver Carter and Ashton Smith are there to take the fall, to be fair about it.
Yeah.
I can't see them being in the picture. There's part of me kind of looks to see who would go against. I do actually think that Pretty Deadly could come out of it, because Eddie Dennis obviously later on in the show talked about the Hunt never seeming to be able to get away from Webster and Andrews, and so I'm thinking at some point those two teams take each other out of it, and Pretty Deadly come in and sneak it, and then they can get in for the match. So if I had to put my neck on the line, I'd say Pretty Deadly.
Yeah, I think so too. I think Andrews and Websters are on a terrible losing streak. The Hunt just had their match, and like you said, Carter and Smith are there to take the fall. So I think Pretty Deadly is the pretty good choice for that. So Tyler Bate, we get Tyler Bate back for another week of wrestling, and he's rebounded with a victory. Tyler Driver for the pinfall.
Yeah, much like this show, it's always better when there's a Tyler on it. You see what it did? You stay in with a boss there. See that? Yeah. I'm not as stupid as I look. No, it was great to see him come in, because obviously the one, like, not what I was going to say, the one great thing about NXT UK, and that's I don't mean it like that. They set up a few weeks down the line what's going to happen, and the stuff with Tyler Bate and Sam Gradwell. When you had Tyler doing the promo last week, and then they cut to Sam Gradwell watching it going, what an idiot, what is this boy on? And you go, okay, here we go. And so as I say, they gave Gradwell a little bit of stuff as the heel during the match, but it was very much there, as you say, to get Tyler's win back, and to really get everybody going, okay, this guy has it. Because, I mean, Tyler Bate is amazing, and he'll be one of those guys that they'll continue to build around. And when you do consider the fact that he hasn't even turned 24 yet, he'll be 24 in March. Because at first, when I knew his finisher was the Tyler Driver 97, I couldn't understand why it was 97, and I thought, oh my word, that's when he was born. He's nearly half my age. I'm going to go and cry in the corner at this point. But no, it really is. It was there as a showcase match for him, to get him his win back and to get him more momentum going again. So.
The funny thing is, I very intentionally left off the 97 when I read the Tyler Driver, and you brought it right back.
It makes me feel old. Yeah. So whenever they say it in commentary, Nigel McGuinness was like, "It's the Tyler Driver 97." I'm like, "No, don't say it. Don't make me feel old, Nigel. Please stop."
So Ilya Dragunov, no contacts anymore. Apparently, he doesn't need them to see. And he's issued a challenge against the most unlikely of competitor, Mr. Jack Stars. Now, Jack does have a win recently, but it was under handicap rules. We don't have a date for this Dragunov Stars match, but I think coming off of that Walter loss, Dragunov he must be nervous about getting back in the ring.
Yeah, I mean, it's like we were saying earlier on, backstage before we started. To me, when I saw that coming on and he challenged, and I'd seen some people saying, "Oh yes, it's because he fought Jack Stars in his first NXT match, so therefore he wants to get him again." To me, it was just again another one of these slow, just planting the seeds of a Dragunov heel turn. I think is coming, almost as if to go, well, Jack, I'll have a wee match with you. Like, I mean, I'll beat you. Everybody else does type of attitude that you'll see a pat on the shoulder, a wee like, good effort, Jack. Just a wee bit of sarcasm coming in, and I go on. You can see maybe just over the lot of weeks that it just builds up. But again, fair play. I will say to Jack Starr, he's getting more TV time than I thought he would, and I'm starting to develop a soft spot for him. It has to be said.
So is Jack Starrs going to be the Daniel Bryan WrestleMania 30 of NXT UK, or we beat him, and all of a sudden I think everybody's going yes, yes, yes for a win against Walter?
In the next NXT takeover. That's it.
I don't see Jack Starrs beating Walter.
He could make a tag team with Cameron Grimes at the next sort of thing. Cameron Grimes taking everybody to the moon, and then he goes, in fact, I'll take you to the stars. But then, and then comes Jack Starrs, and it's like, there you are.
You, sir, have booked us into a corner with that one. So, Jenny's wealth is apparently what has attracted Joseph Connors. Kaylee Ray says, yeah, but you're still not championship material. Well, we're going to find out this week on NXT UK. They have the big match. What say you, Gary? What say you?
Yes, Kaylee Ray's right. No. Well, next. No. It's like they have they have built this up really well. Although the interesting thing is, for me, like I've written down in my notes with a question mark going, I mean, who's the face? Who's the I was going to say good guy, but obviously they're both women. But it's like, who do you root for? Because the whole way through the last lot of months, Kaylee Ray has been obviously the heel and has been attacking all stuff with Piper Niven and so on. So probably by default, she's becoming the ones that the fans will back. Somewhere she has to lose the title. I don't believe it'll be here, but on the other hand, they haven't put Joseph Connors with Jenny for no reason. So either he's going to do something that ends up costing her the match, or he'll do something that ends up having her win the match, whether it's by DQ or I just can't see them changing the title. But as I say, they have done a good job building it up, and the whole backstory with Jenny getting involved in the match and stuff. I mean, they've had this backstory coming out, so fair play to them. It's been built up well, but I still have my fingers crossed and all of my toes crossed that Kaylee Ray will come out on top. So.
Yeah, it's one of the other great things about NXT UK is they have planted these little seeds all the way along, right? And that's the whole thing about Joseph Connors being there and the working out, and you have Jenny sabotage Piper Niven's opportunity. So you've had these long-term, and I'm saying long with emphasis, but it's like 2 or 3 months, which is more than you can get in a normal WWE program, I would say. So you have a good build to this match, and if they change the title, they change the title, and onward and up for Kaylee Ray. I personally am with you. I don't think Kaylee Ray's losing it to Jenny. It's probably a way to get back to somebody else. Well, we'll find out. But last but not least, on NXT UK, Walter, a definitive victory over A-Kid. Where does A-Kid go from here?
I know, and obviously, much like we discussed with Al a lot of weeks ago, obviously the Heritage Cup wasn't on the line in this match. It wasn't title for title. But it was interesting because, again, it's the sort of match that Walter thrives in. It was a big man, little man, and he just beat the little man up. While to be fair in this one, A-Kid did use his MMA background and was using a lot of kicks and strikes to kind of knock Walter down to size. But it was interesting. I was listening to a Lance Storm interview during the week, and he was saying he doesn't quite know whether Walter is really, really stiff and would be hard to work with, or whether he just looks like he is, but he's actually taking good care of you. But I will say there's part of me doesn't care, because the 2 matches that he's had recently, like the big matches with A-Kid and with Dragunov, have both just been outstanding matches. And to see, as I say, it's one of those things, as you were talking earlier on about Joe Coffey being one of the 5 that they're building NXT UK around, you do still look at Walter and go, okay, who's going to be the one to take him down? I mean, I don't think it damages A-Kid. It's like, I was worried in the Ben Carter match last week, and again in this one, I sort of thought, okay, Walter will win, but is it going to damage A-Kid? And they've been building him up, and what will happen? And I don't think he has come out of it damaged at all. I think he's come out of it that everybody went, you know what, Walter is amazing, but my goodness, you are brilliant too, mate, and fair play to you. So I really do think that when you look at how many young guys they have coming up, that they're bringing in over the last few months into the promotion, that will be the long term of the promotion and the future of the promotion. But the here and now is definitely still Walter. So it'll be interesting to see where they take him after this.
Yeah, you think it's Rampage Brown? I mean, you think that's where Walter ends up losing the title?
Yeah, I mean, I was because I was writing down. I have literally Joe Coffey, Rampage Brown, and back to Dragunov again. I can't see them going to Dragunov again. So I'm looking at Coffey and Rampage, and yes, to me, I almost think that going back a year or whatever it was when he beat Joe Coffey, that they may come full circle with that, and have him that direction first. I mean, whether with Rampage Brown, I know he and Dave Mastiff have had a lot of chat backstage, so whether when they have their eventual match, they come out of it as friends and have not quite a tag team, but pair up with each other, and whether they kind of just keep them up near the top, but away from the top just for the minute. But I do think that it'll either be Rampage Brown or Joe Coffey will be where they go. It'll be two big boys having to go at him. So wouldn't surprise me with Rampage, given his background and given the guys who are producing the shows and stuff. Rampage wouldn't surprise me, but we'll see where they take it.
Yeah, is Rampage Brown typically a face or a heel over there?
It has depended on the promotion. I mean, it's because when they brought him in the first week, I thought, okay, well, they make him a heel because they really could make him. But as soon as they presented him, I thought, no, they're going to make him this guy who's just coming in to kick everybody about and be the all-conquering hero. I thought, okay. So again, it may well be, as you said, because they've set him up that way coming in, that they may position him to go towards Walter as being the sort of the hero. Everybody's coming in saying, yeah, you're the big guy who can sort of beat everybody up. So say it has depended where he's been, but
okay. Well, Gary, it's going to be another good week of NXT UK. Like we said, it's the sleeper promotion in WWE. It's the one people that probably are watching the least that they need to be watching the most.
Absolutely.
So, thank you very much, Gary. We're gonna bid you adieu. Thank you for your service. See you next week.
Yep, shall see you then.
Okay. And we bring Travis in. Travis making his Essential Wrestling Podcast debut to talk about Major League Wrestling and New Japan. Welcome, Travis.
Thank you for having me on. This is a big day. I get to put this on my resume moving forward. I'm honored to be here and to take the shoes of your fearless leader, Al, and try to hold it down as best I can.
There you go. Thank you. And you're wearing a Wrestle Kingdom 15 shirt. Did you travel to the Tokyo Dome to acquire said shirt?
You know, the back of the shirt says I did. However, COVID restrictions in the state I live in says I couldn't. So right. No, not this year. Maybe next year. We'll see.
Well, the first thing I want to talk to you about is in Major League Wrestling. We don't talk about it enough on this show, but Jacob Fatu is defending his championship against ACH. Fatu has held this title, not something we measure in days anymore, not something we measure in months anymore. It's been years. And I think it's a little shy of 2, but for all intents and purposes, for dramatics in this show, it's years. What do you think of the match, Travis?
So Jacob Fatu's last loss was actually September 7th, 2000, and this is anywhere because he is, he's on the road sometimes. September 7th, 2019, in a mixed three-way where he lost to Low-Key, the Von Erichs, and Lawler. This title has been just on his body for forever. He's the guy, and it's interesting because a lot of people think about Alex Hammerstone when they think of MLW. ACH, on the other hand, bit of a journeyman. We've seen him kind of all over the place. You know, he's 1-1 in MLW. He got the, you know, his debut win. He beat the Laredo Kid. He lost to Tom Lawler on the 15th after just an incredible Super J Cup showing over in New Japan. He wins over Chris Bay and TJP, you know, and he loses in the finals to ELP. It's amazing to see how good and how well he's put himself together coming off of the Jordan Miles character, you know, some controversy over the shirt that was potentially out there, and his run there wasn't great. It was definitely forgettable versus what we're seeing out of him now. I do not think we're going to see a title change here. I think this is probably a setup to call back to have Lawler supposed to be on the show. I think we're going to see a Lawler interference here or something to that effect. Or, I mean, Contra's just such a big force at MLW, and ACH doesn't really have any of that kind of backing right now, right yet. So we'll see.
Yeah. Also on the same show, Sean Davari is debuting as the newest member of Fatu's Contra unit. So,
you know, the rich get richer, right? Davari, just, gosh, you know, for a smaller guy, for an era that doesn't quite have the bodies that we used to see in wrestling, man, God, he's really put together well. So that'll be great too. I mean, Contra's pretty unstoppable in MLW, given just the sheer roster and the talent that they have.
I listened to an interview with Court Bauer just last week, and he was talking about both Fatu and Hammerstone, the other guy you brought up. Both guys that had multiple tryouts at the PC and were not selected for an NXT contract. Surprising, given Fatu's lineage, actually.
Fatu to me is probably the one that I'm surprised that they would overlook because, that is the Samoan angle is something that they go with. He fits into that, and actually, depending on when those tryouts were, it wasn't like they were running all over the place with Samoans at the time. Hammerstone on the other side of things, big guy. I don't know. Maybe they didn't like his promo work or something like that. You know, his dynasty run has been pretty good. The stuff that he did with MJF while he was there, and I'm not sure where they're going to take him from now. Rich has kind of been in the side and stuff, and whether they're going to grab a third member for dynasty or something like that, I don't know if we're going to see that team end up coming back. But both two really talented wrestlers that, you know, any roster I think would be better if they had either one of them for sure.
Yeah, for sure. And I think ultimately that's the feud that everything's building towards is Hammerstone Fatu.
Yeah, to get into one of those weird situations where you got a double belt situation again, right? Like we kind of just went through that, and we're in the middle of it in New Japan with unification. But I mean, they're definitely two guys that both deserve to hold titles when they can there for sure.
Absolutely. Okay, on New Japan, they have a busy month. They're touring, lots and lots of shows. And they have a few shows that have title matches, and we've got one of those this week on the 23rd. That'll be Saturday. Yoshinobu Kanemaru, El Desperado, defending the IWGP Junior Heavyweight titles against El Fantasmo and Taiji Ishimori. It's the main event of Night 5 of their New Beginning tour. And like I said, it's the junior tag titles on the line.
So this should be a good match. You know, we kind of joke about New Japan throwing two guys together for tag teams, but this is a rare situation where both of these tags have had a lot of experience with each other. ELD and Kanemaru are on. This is their third defense. They took down Wato and Taguchi in day 2 of Wrestle Kingdom. They took the titles off of Buchi and Takahashi in a hell of a match. ELP and Ishimaru, a lot of history there. In fact, in ELP's debut in New Japan, that tag team beat Ospreay and Dragon Lee in 2019. We did get to see it in 2020 because of just the pandemic and stuff, but they won 11 out of 13 in the Super Juniors in 2019, eventually just losing to Show and Yo in the finals. And they opened with a stunner that run as well, beating Robbie Eagles and Will Ospreay. So the interesting thing about it, though, for as much experience that they have with each other, we actually haven't seen them tag together since February 2020.
Right.
So they're putting them back together. We saw ELP with Suzuki a bunch of times and stuff. They are kind of pillars of the Suzuki-gun. I'm not sure. This is a hard one to call. I don't know if they want to take the titles off of Connemaro in ELD that soon. If they were, these are definitely two people that could carry those belts and do well with it, especially with Show and Yo kind of in the background. I know on this show, as an example, Show is working it and Yo isn't in the early card. So I could see this one going either way, and I'd be okay with either.
Yeah. I think I give the slight edge to Connemaro and Desperado just because it's not a real big show. They do get the main event slot, so maybe that's something. But the other side of the equation, ELP and Ishimori are coming off 2 big losses at Wrestle Kingdom, and this may be the way to rehab them and bring them.
Yeah, for sure, right? And they did, we got the new ELP entrance music and things like that. It gets the belts moved over to that faction as well. It could be interesting to showcase them as well. ELP was the one that spoiled Jay White's no longer in the Bullet Club on Twitter or whichever social media thing. So it'll be interesting now that they're, definitely securely locked where they are. I could certainly see that. Third defense usually, though, I don't know. I think ELD and Connemaro probably have another run in them, but not a bad place to change the titles for the juniors, right? It's a decent show with a lot of names on it before they even get to the ring. So,
yeah. All right. Well, hold your thoughts here. You are going to be joining us for All Elite Wrestling as we go through New Year's Smash last week and we run through this week's card. I have to kick you out and bring you back in just so the nameplates work, but stand by. Let's see if I got it right. No. There we go.
Oh. Hey.
Does everybody have their proper name?
This isn't my real name.
I don't have enough knowledge. I don't have enough impact knowledge. I don't have enough impact knowledge to be in the John DeConnie spot. So, yeah, it's good that I moved back across here.
Well, John Smith, if that is your real name, we will kick things off with you. And we're going to start with the main event of New Year's Smash. Darby Allin, Brian Cage, the TNT Championship. What say you about this match? Was it blatant interference from Sting?
I mean, what's his name? Starks interfered first, so it's all's fair in love and war, in my opinion. So I'm not going to get on Sting for that or Darby. What I will get on them for is the multiple kickouts at one that Darby Allin did during those matches. It just makes Cage look weak. It does not make Darby look strong at all. And especially considering the beatings, the gorilla press through the 2 tables outside of the ring, one of the most dangerous spots I've seen since ECW. He hit him with a nice crucifix bomb off the middle rope for the win, which is a nice callback to when, Taz was trying to help him with that crucifix bomb about a year ago when he was trying to, recruit him as one of his talents. But, the fact that Sting got involved, that's fine. I just don't like the multiple 1 counts during the middle of the match.
It was a showcase for Brian Cage's strength as he picked up Darby and threw him all over the ring the whole match. And I shouldn't say all over the ring. He threw him out of the ring and practically through the ring.
Powerbomb on the entrance ramp. Powerbomb. That was a nice one.
Yeah. Okay, so then another big thing on the card that night was Kenny Omega and the Good Brothers defeated In Action after Don Callis announced that Gallows and Anderson would be joining Kenny instead of the Young Bucks. Post-match, Moxley came out to fight, followed by Pentagon and Phoenix, and then the Bucks. And here's what we have for this week. First match I want to talk about, Jon Moxley. He is going to be facing In Action this week. So Jon Moxley In Action. I want to go around the horn, and we're going to start with Travis. Who do you think Jon Moxley might wrestle? And do you think there's any chance he loses?
My guess, so he's not going to lose, and my guess is I'm going to go with the Blade.
The Blade, okay.
He's wrestled the Butcher before. He hasn't wrestled the Blade. Looking over the roster and looking through what he's gone through and where he could potentially go for stories, to me, I think the Blade feels like a comfortable pick. He's a heel. I don't think they're going to put him in a squash against the face unless they grab somebody from Dark and just bring him in to brutalize him.
Right. I think that's a good chance of happening, but if not, let's go with that. Let's go with the assumption that they're not going to, John DeConnie. Who do you think they pull from the main roster, if you will? And who do you think wins?
Well, I think Mox. Yeah, I think it's a bad day for whoever faces Mox, and someone who's used to taking some ugly bumps. Maybe Joey Janela. First name that came to mind.
Yeah, we've seen that before. John Smith.
I take Moxley either way. I can't really think of anybody that it might be. I know I thought of somebody on your show last Thursday, but I can't think of who I said. So I like either one of your two choices as much as anything else, because either way, it's just going to be, Moxley winning.
I mean, I would have loved to say Peter Avalon, but we'll talk about him later. In the meantime, Travis, Pac got the win over Eddie Kingston after a Black Arrow on New Year's Smash Night 2.
Yeah, so Black Arrow into the Brutalizer, right? So he's now finished Kingston, who's a pretty tough SOB, and Omega with that finisher. This I think would have been we were building up to this over a couple of weeks. This was kind of the custody of the Lucha Bros match. Gosh, Pac came out super aggressive right out of the gates. And Kingston can take as good as he can give, and it was a good match, a match that you would see both of these guys. They're familiar with each other. They've worked together before and stuff. Super comfortable in the ring. Just a good way to kick off that show, really.
Yeah, more than anything, I felt this was a remember me match for Pac because
Absolutely.
He was in a tag match before, but this was, hey, look, remember me? This is what I can do.
And this is a big, tough guy taking good bumps from a guy that's dishing out some real offense.
Yeah.
Like Pac got to be aggressive, the bastard, and so on and so forth. And then it was nice because obviously the story is going to continue. We got Lance Archer coming down to the rescue after Butcher and the Blade kind of jumped in at the end of the match as well. So this is going to continue on. I think Lance is in kind of a weird position here. Like, is it a death square then we're moving to, or a death rectangle with Lance is there? Like, is it a death pentagon because we're going to throw Jake in there as well? Like, there's a lot going on in this thing.
And they already have a pentagon. So
yeah, exactly. You got one pentagon. So
Penta L0N.
They're going to have to call Dos Pentagones or something. I don't know. My Spanish a little rusty.
Well, the alliance is weak, and I don't. The idea of Jake Roberts being a face in this period of his life is kind of crazy, but stranger things have happened.
No, and what's odd is Lucha Bros, at least Ray for sure has looked more and more facious. And when we thought they were going to I thought they were going to bust up and we were going to see some singles action from them both. Now you got the bastard coming back who's super aggressive and stuff. Is that three-man really a face? Because they seem gray at best to me. Like they're not going around and high-fiving the crowd. Not that anybody can do that right now, but it's certainly a contentious, we're in the middle of the gray zone sort of a squad for sure.
Yes, absolutely. John DeConnie. Serena Deeb got a win over Tay Conti, but it was a career performance by Tay Conti, I would say.
Yeah, not only that, it might be maybe there's one I'm forgetting, but it might have been the best women's match in AEW history. I mean, it wasn't terribly long. There weren't a whole lot of crazy high spots or anything, but this was probably two people working together who you could tell had a good chemistry. Tay Conti, there was a I don't want to call it a glitch because maybe it's exactly what she wanted, but she apparently is working on something new where she starts with a full Nelson and kind of spun Serena around for what looked like a stunner. She got a 2 count out of it. I'm not sure exactly what it's supposed to look like, but it looked impressive. It looks like something she'll work on and may wind up being a finisher later. Who knows? She would then go for the Tay KO, which Serena countered into a backslide. And then Serena grabbed her with the double underhooks and hit the detox for the win and retained the NWA World Women's Championship in just a really great women's match for AEW.
Yeah, solid. I I feel like there probably is some they can collaborate really well, probably because Serena Deeb maybe trained Tay Conti some in the WWE PC when they were both there. I don't know that, but it seems like that they would probably know each other from that situation. Women's stuff continues on the show. We had the waiting room with Britt Baker as the host, and she brought in Cody Rhodes. It turned into an absolute bleep show. Cody said nothing. Jade Cargill said a lot. Red Velvet came around, and Red Velvet is very, very tiny in comparison to Jade Cargill. But all of this basically led up to the announcement of Beach Break of Britt Baker versus Thunder Rosa. So that's a match that we're not getting this week. It'll be February 3rd, I believe, is the date for that. The women's match that we do get this week is Penelope Ford versus Leyla Hirsch. Now, this comes as a result of Nyla Rose coming into contact with somebody with COVID. She was supposed to have a match with Leyla Hirsch, but now we have Penelope in place. I think this is actually an improvement over the squash we would have had. John Smith, pick a winner. Leyla Hirsch, Penelope Ford.
I'm going to go with Penelope Ford for no specific reason.
Okay. Travis, do you agree? And if you do, can you elaborate?
I agree. I'm really interested to see if it goes the other way and we don't see some kind of a Wally Pip thing. Because man, obviously, I think in the setup this was going to be a Nyla squash. Do they take Leyla and do they decide to run with her with something? Do they get her in the middle of a faction or something like that? I can't imagine this just being a straight match, right? Like there was probably something that was going to happen before, whether it was Vicky coming out and shooting her mouth off or whatever the case may be. I mean, you've got Kip and stuff like that. Maybe it's just going to be a straight up match, but it doesn't seem like, looking at what's on the show and how full it is, that we're not doing much with the women's division unless some kind of story does come out of this. So I don't know, maybe Leyla gets rescued or something like that. Or, I would certainly be okay to see Leyla move over with Tay Conti and 99.
There you go. A little Dark Order spreading throughout the AEW locker room.
Absolutely.
John McConaughey, are you on the same page with these guys, or are you going to take a vote here for the Jersey Girl?
I'm going to go for the Jersey Girl from Moscow, Russia. And although I like Travis's idea of her winding up Dark Order, the first thing that came to mind of her being absorbed into a faction was, wouldn't a short, powerful-legged shooter look really good in Team Taz?
Yeah.
Now that you guys are talking about her, I remember her. I'm picking her because that's what I said a few weeks ago. She was like a little Taz. She's like a 4'10" female Taz. I loved her.
Yeah.
I had no idea who we were talking about for a second. I'm terrible.
You could put her in the Taz outfit too. She'd look just fine in that orange and black singlet for sure. Hook, I think, would get a little jealous because I think she can probably go a little better than him, but we'll see.
I'm going to pick Leyla Hirsch as well. I think what we have here is a situation where convenient circumstances, Nyla's out, they didn't have a plan for Penelope to probably even be on the show other than backstage, and they can make Leyla Hirsch here. So I think that's what they do. The Inner Circle is having issues. They can't figure out who is going to be the official tag team of the Inner Circle. So we have a three-way match on tomorrow night's show. It will be Santana and Ortiz versus MJF and Chris Jericho versus Sammy Hagar. John McConaughey, let's start with you. Who do you have?
Okay, well, if you know me from this show as a wrestling fan, you would probably think I'm going to go with Jericho and MJF. But if you know me in any other part of my life, there's no way I could not pick Sammy Hagar.
Okay. Fierce loyalty aside, Travis, where do you think this match goes?
Well, I can't drive 65, but I'm not going to go with Sammy Hagar. Van Hagar was not what I grew up on. I'm a David Lee Roth child. Thank you very much. So I'm going to go with my boys, MJF and Jericho. I think it makes the most interesting story. I think it keeps everybody sort of in line that the bosses for each side goes. And I don't know. I'm interested. Does Wardlow come out? Because he didn't even get invited to the party. Like I hope he's at ringside or something like that. I could certainly see Wardlow getting involved in some way to give MJF and Jericho the win, whether that's over, Hager, Guevara, or Ortiz and Santana, which is sad to me because I think Ortiz and Santana are on the odd side out, and they're the only true tag team that's in the match.
Yeah, I think what should happen here is Wardlow should walk out mid-match with a microphone and say, all this is happening. I want to be the official singles guy of the Inner Circle and push himself to the top of that pile.
There you go. Exactly.
John Smith, these two fangirls on the bottom of the screen have aligned themselves for really weird reasons. What say you about this match?
See, Santana and Ortiz seems like the logical choice because they are the tag team. But I feel like it's not their time yet. I think Jake Hager, however you say his name, he needs a win after he had that loss to Wardlow. So I'm going with Sammy Hagar as well.
Okay, challenge accepted here. Who does Jake Hager pin then? Because it's probably not Jericho and it's probably not MJF, right? It's going to pin Ortiz or Santana?
Yeah, it's either one. I mean, I don't see why not.
Any circumstance, John DeConnie, where Jericho gets pinned in this match?
I don't see that.
Okay. Well, I'm going to pick Santana Ortiz, and I'm going to say they're going to pin Sammy Guevara.
I could see a world where if Hager and Guevara wins, it's Hager pinning Jericho. I think that would be an interesting thing for them to try to work their way around.
Right. It continues this dissension that's not there, that's just kind of bubbling, and
Yeah, this is just an exhibition, guys. We're fine.
Yeah. We've put more thought into it than they have.
Never been stronger. Never been stronger.
Okay, Travis, sticking with you. Miro, he now has a butler with his win over Chuck Taylor last week.
Yeah, it makes sense. I don't think anybody going into this match didn't think that we were going to see, I don't even know if I don't even remember were there stakes for Miro on the other side of this match or not. But I mean, I think probably Miro was taking a look over on the other side of the aisle on Monday, saw how helpful and handy it is to have a sommelier. So he said, you know what, I'm just going to grab myself a butler and I'm going to put him in the mix. So, yeah, this was Chuck had a lot more offense than I thought he was going to have for sure. But yeah, Miro just, kicked to the face and the game over submission. And this one was over pretty quickly. So it'll be interesting to see Chuck as a Kentucky gentleman all dressed up and serving whoever. Who knows? Maybe they'll have him out there helping Penelope Ford in the middle of her match as well, doing some butlering for everybody on the team there. He certainly should be gluing together that arcade machine he broke for sure. So hopefully that'll happen.
We are going to get an update from Miro on how Chuck is doing in the role. So that is planned for the show. It could be, like you said, that maybe he brings Penelope out a cocktail during, some her match or something.
Maybe some water. Yeah, some towel.
This might be the fact that Penelope's on the card may be a happy accident for the Miro Chuck Taylor business.
Sure.
But then you also have Orange Cassidy that's going to be lounging around.
Yeah, who knows? Maybe he'll be on commentary. He's known for that.
Yeah. And he's John DeConnie, better or worse than Tony Schiavone?
Better by just a hair.
Okay. All right, Private Party.
These guys are savages on this podcast.
Yeah. Certain allegiances are hard to break. Private Party doesn't like how Matt's taking 30% of their income plus 50% of their cameos. Money grabbing Carney are the exact phrase that they use. Now,
Get that on a shirt.
There you go. And I don't, is Matt going to be embarrassed to wear that? I don't think so. So they have a match. And I'm going to bring up my handy graphic here to remind me of the match. Matt Sydal and Top Flight versus Hardy Party. John DeConnie, we'll start with you.
I think Hardy Party takes this. Things are obviously going to break down between the three of them eventually, but if they don't at least get a couple of wins right out of the gate, this could be over before it starts.
Okay. John Smith?
Yeah, I'll go with Hardy's privates. I think Hardy is going to show them how to win in this match.
Okay. Earn his keep, if you will. Earn his keep.
Yeah.
Travis, what say you?
I'm just going to be contrarian, and I'm going to go with Top Flight but quick fall with Seidel and Top Flight on that, because I think we've seen some Party Hardy wins occasionally with tags coming in. We've seen a little bit of that in the contract signing and stuff like that. So maybe we start to see the real fracture and they start setting it up for the pay-per-view. So I'm going to go with the Seidel. Hopefully he doesn't hurt himself on the top ropes, and Top Flight, who's I enjoy watching.
Okay. I'm gonna pick. I'll pick Hardy Party. I think that the Johns are right, and that this will be the momentum giver for them. They give them something back. FTR defeated Jurassic Express last week after a big rig. The big story here is Jurassic Express is now using Tarzan Boy by Baltimora as their entrance music. John DeConnie, anything else to add to this?
Well, you took the big highlight there, because that was the most important part of the match, after all, was the entrance. But this was just a continuation of, or the payoff, I should say, of FTR kind of teasing Marco into putting himself into the match so that they could beat the living hell out of him for the majority of the match. And Jungle Boy had a quick little run where he started to make the comeback, but eventually he'd wind up on the floor, and Tully suckered him into a clothesline from Wheeler, who then sent him into the guardrail, leaving Marco all alone to take that 3D code breaker that they call the Big Rig. And FTR gets the victory here, as I believe we all predicted.
Yeah, and two matches on this card where a small guy just got battered to death between Darby Allin and Marco Stunt. We've got one more match, two more matches to talk about for AEW tomorrow night. Let's bring up the graphic here. You have the Dark Order that consists of Colt Cabana, Alex Reynolds, and John Silver, with their partner Hangman Page, taking on TH2 and Chaos Project. Adam Page will let them know after the match if he will be joining the Dark Order. So obviously this is a two-part question. Travis, we'll start with you. Who wins, and does he join?
I think Dark Order wins, and I don't think he joins.
Does it result in a big Hangman Dark Order feud, or they just amicably go their separate ways?
I think we could see that. Dark Order's kind of trying to feel their way out in the aftermath of everything that happened with them. We could see somebody come, like Hangman's kind of off on an island right now. So he doesn't have a whole hell of a lot going on other than this Dark Order thing. I don't know. If they come out with the hats, maybe Hangman will join. If they have those cowboy hats, those are a big win. But I don't see the Adam Page character as part of the Dark Order. Colt is really hard for me to swallow a little bit in terms of what exactly he's doing there, and he seemed confused the entire time. So, I don't know, maybe Colt breaks off or something like that as well. But I don't see Hangman Page anywhere near purple and black with a mask or any of that kind of stuff.
Dark Order aside, I do believe Hangman Page is the person who ultimately defeats Kenny Omega for the championship. Whether that's with or without the Dark Order. John Smith, what say you on this Dark Order match?
Well, I think you got about at least a year and a half before that Adam Page Kenny Omega feud that you're talking about. But as far as this match, I got Adam, Page winning and Dark Order, and I think he's going to join, but it's going to be like kind of out of pity. Like, oh, I kind of have to do this right now. How do I say no to them right now? And then it could quickly evolve into like, I shouldn't have done this, and then it could be him versus them at some point.
John DeConnie, one other thing we didn't really bring up is we are celebrating -1's birthday on this show. And could that play into Hangman Page's decision on whether or not to join the Dark Order?
I think even if I didn't already think that Hangman and the Dark Order would beat TH2 and Chaos Project, once they hung Negative One's birthday celebration match on this bout, it was 100% going to be Hangman and the Dark Order. As to whether or not he joins, I could see a funny conversation back and forth. Like, I don't have to wear the mask, do I? I don't have to take some silly number or wear any face paint or anything. But I don't think he's going to. But I wouldn't be completely shocked if he did.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I'll pick the Dark Order to win this. I think I agree with you guys that Hangman will join in the kind of like way that Colt Cabana joined, where it was kind of a half join. We'll see what happens from there. The final match for AEW, we have a battle of two undefeated AEW stars in 2021. One man is going to have to leave with a loss. John DeConnie, will it be Cody Rhodes or Peter Avalon?
Ooh, somebody's has got to go. Jeez, I think Cody's going to take this one.
Okay. John Smith, do you agree? And if you do, why are we having this match?
I don't know. Cody's booking it. I don't know. Why are we having this match? Give us I don't know. He's probably going to go 17 minutes with him and take up 2 commercial breaks and stuff too.
Travis, the savagery continues. And
So I think
too far away, John Smith.
I think Pretty Peter Avalon's going to take the win here, and I think he's going to do it on the heels of the tallest woman that I think I've ever seen in my life in wrestling, Jade Cargill, coming down and having something to do with the match. I think we're going to get a stunner loss here because Cody's going to put his hubris aside here, take a loss to kind of build up this storyline and give a reason, because there's no other reason to have Pretty Peter Avalon on here unless he's got some contractual agreement that says he can't do another 32 weeks in a row on Dark, which is what he did last year, with a 5-27 record on that show. Bring him out. I just think it could be a show stunner. We'll see.
Is it the Jade Cargill hooks the legs, martinis for the win?
I think we could see something like that for sure. I mean, who knows? She looks like she can handle herself, so she might just punch him straight in the face, closed fist style, roll him up. Peter does. I don't even know if he has a finisher. You don't have five wins. You usually don't have a finisher, so we'll see. I mean, him and Leva Bates, I think, are no longer the librarians or anything. So I'll go against the grain because it should be a Cody Rhodes squash in 3 seconds. He should.
Yeah, you convinced me. You convinced me. I think it's a win with the martinis, which is his version of Meteora. So, So I like that. And John Smith, just for the record, I mean, you get a victory over Cody Rhodes, you get a TNT title shot, right?
Yeah, right.
All right. Let's bring up the graphic one more time, which does 2 things. So everybody can get a final look at the card. I can scan it to make sure that we didn't miss anything, which looks like we're good. That is AEW. Travis, thank you very much for your debut on the Essential Wrestling Podcast.
My pleasure. I appreciate being asked to come on, and it's great to be hanging out here talking wrestling with both the Johns. I respect their takes on all the stuff, even when it's the opposite of mine. That's okay.
Yeah, I think we had a very good reporter in this.
Do not take this butt kicking on predictions personally, guys. It's nothing against you. It's all me.
All right,
you got to come.
All right, guys. Now it's time to dive into the WWE, NXT, Raw, SmackDown portion of the show. We are going to start with NXT. John Smith, I'm going to throw it to you directly out of the gate to talk about the grizzled young veterans with their big win over Everrise Rules.
Everrise Rules. Yeah, this is, like I've said for a few weeks, this is what I wanted the finals to be, and I would have been happy with either of them coming out with the win, but I just knew that grizzled young veterans were going to win this match if it was first round because they have got the most hype behind them out of anybody that not named the Undisputed Era in the tag team division right now. They've been given like the most mic time, the most backstage stuff. This match, it didn't go too long, but it showcased both teams pretty well. Everrise didn't get much of the upper hand, but they pulled off they got their stuff in, you could say. And then Grizzled Young Veterans just, looking like the Revival 2.0 or something like that. They're cut from the same cloth, I believe, to take a saying from Finn Balor later in the show. But I can't say any better things about both these teams, so I was really happy with this match.
Yeah, and they're good tournament wrestlers, actually. I have notes here that say Zach Gibson won the second UK tournament, singles tournament, with a victory over Travis Banks in the finals. Grizzled Young Veterans won the inaugural UK tag team titles, defeating Mustache Mountain in the finals. They placed second last year's Dusty Cup, so I think they're odds-on favorite to win the whole thing. And you already made reference to Finn Balor's promo. They stopped manufacturing the cloth he's cut from. Tough line. Of course, that was interrupted. Dunn, Lorcan, Birch all came out. O'Reilly followed. Cole's there. It was a mess, that segment. So, and we got no definitive who's going to face Balor next. So that item ends up in the annals. We'll have to wait and see. John DeConnie, who is MSK?
MSK are Nash Carter and Wes Lee,
a.k.a.
Wentz and Dez of the Rascals. Woohoo! So they went on to defeat Swerve and Atlas, bouncing them from the Dusty Cup tournament. They hit their Hot Fire Flame in the middle of the match for a 2 count. But we saw Swerve and Atlas work well together, and it was a good back and forth match until MSK hit, I don't know what they're calling it yet, but what looked like a setup for the heart attack wound up as a blockbuster. They landed it on Swerve. Carter got the pin. MSK moves on.
Yeah, it was like a spine buster blockbuster combination. So is that a spine blockbuster or a block spine buster or something to that effect? A blocking spine, something like that.
The spine block.
The spine block. Drop the buster. It's like there's some sort of math where that'll cancel out, right? Those were the 2 matches on NXT last week for the men's Dusty Cup. We had Dusty Cup action continue on 205 Live. Killian Dane obviously cut a lot of weight to make that show. He teamed with Drake Maverick, and they knocked out August Gray and Kurt Stallion. That is pure joke. There was no way Killian Dane is under 205. Mendoza and Wild of Legado del Fantasma, they defeated the Sings. So they are out of the tournament. I don't know whoever would have picked the Sings to win this thing. But and then John Smith, there's one more match for the NXT Dusty Cup men's side, and that was the Undisputed Era and Breezango on NXT.
Oh, yeah, that was – I mean, it went the way we all knew it was going to go, but, there was the interference, and then what did Balor – what do I have here? Balor with the save. Oh, okay. Yeah, Balor came out to save the Undisputed Era at the end when everything was going haywire, but as far as the match was concerned, it was kind of just chalk. As far as what you expect from these 2 teams, they didn't go, balls to the wall, and it wasn't, a 15-minute classic. It was, it got done what needed to be done, I guess.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, here's our updated brackets for the men's Dusty Cup. As you can see from the very top there, we have an updated. The MSK question marks are now revealed to be Des and Wentz. You've got Drake Maverick and Killian Dane. That's who they're going to be facing next. Legado del Fantasma advanced in the bottom right. GYV in the bottom left. And in the upper left, we have Undisputed Era. And we continue with Dusty Cup action on tomorrow night's episode of NXT UK. We're going to start with Kushida and Leon Ruff facing off against Johnny Gargano and Austin Theory. John DeConnie, who do you think is going to advance in the Dusty Cup?
This was I figured there would be an upset, or even if it's a mild upset somewhere in the first round. This is the one I'm going to go with. Not that Kushida, is anyone to ever, laugh at. And Ruff's obviously shown what he can do recently. But I think Gargano and Theory losing would technically qualify as an upset. But give me Kushida and Ruff in this one.
Okay. John Smith?
Yeah, I completely agree. I think Kushida is on his way up, and this is the first step to that. It's him getting a clean win over Johnny in this match.
Okay, yeah. I tend to agree. I'm going to bring this back up because I want to just say I think that Kushida and Ruff get the win here, and then GYV is going to beat Gargano and Theory so that both Gargano and Kushida are available for a match at TakeOver. John Smith, Johnny Gargano, on the subject of Mr. Gargano, he had a match with Dexter Loomis last week.
Yeah, man. They what do I got here? Where are we? I'm on the wrong spot here. My contacts are so blurry right now. That'll probably be part of my
Your tip?
my words of wisdom on Thursday. Like, get new freaking contacts. Don't wear the same contacts for so long. Well, Dexter dominated most of the match I got here, and then Johnny slowed it down with the help of Austin Theory. But the big thing that comes out of this is the first singles loss for Dexter Loomis. He's lost 6-way matches, stuff like that, but one-on-one, he's never lost a match. And for it to happen like this, I thought it was kind of anticlimactic, but whatever.
In the end, Kushida did come down and put Gargano in the hoverboard lock to kind of continue the story we were having with the last the classic match that they're going to have this week.
Right.
We do have another Dusty Rhodes Tag Team Classic match on the docket for this week's NXT. It is the Lucha House Party from Monday Night Raw. They're going to be facing Imperium. And John Smith, is NXT going to be Lucha Lit?
Yeah, only for about 8 minutes until they're staring at the lights because Imperium's gonna take this one down. They're former champs. They got a chip on their shoulder still, you could say, and yeah, they're not going to be eliminated in the first round of this tournament.
All right, John DeConnie, do you think Lucha House Party is going to win this match?
I'm going to have to go along with John Smith here and say it's not a good night for Lucha House Party. Imperium moves on.
My God. I'm going to pick Lucha House Party because there's no points on the line, and I like them. John DeConnie, break down Candice LeRae and Shotzi Blackheart for us.
This one was, they certainly could have gone for longer. It wasn't a terribly long match. They had a good back and forth, comeback. Candice had control. Shotzi came back, but in the end, it ended up like you might have figured. A little distraction by Indy Hartwell allowed Candice to hit a swinging neck breaker from the second turnbuckle for the win. So that was a nice way to end it, even if it did come off a distraction. And it led to a backstage segment with Shotzi, declaring she needed someone to catch her back, someone to have her back, someone she had previously gone to war with. And Ember Moon stepped up, and we got another set of participants in the female Dusty Cup, looks like.
Yeah, do you think they're going to take the Dusty Cup, those two?
The role that Shotzi's been on, and the gravitas that Ember Moon brings with her already, I could certainly see it happening. I don't know that I'd make them my absolute pick until I saw the whole bracket, but they would certainly be amongst the favorites, I would think. All
right, and John Smith, do you think that if it's not them, is it Casey Catanzaro and Caden Carter? They have a first-round match with Mercedes Martinez and Toni Storm.
No, I see them losing to Mercedes Martinez and Toni Storm. They're a nice underdog combo, to go far in the tournament. But how are you going to bring Mercedes Martinez in with all this, big girl hype, and then have her lose to these two little girls in the first round of a tournament. I know Toni Storm could take the pin, but then what are you going to do? I would like a heel on heel program between those two, but they're not going to go that direction. So I see them, the big girls winning.
All right, John DeConnie.
Yeah, I think I really would have liked to seen Casey and Caden get a better first round draw to at least advance one round. But I think Mercedes is going to play lawn darts with these ladies, and her and Tony are going to move on.
Every crazy news story that you read out there usually starts with the words "a Florida man." So here we're going to say a Florida man is picking a Jersey girl to beat Mercedes Martinez in the opening round. Here's why I think that this is a bigger possibility than we're giving credit. Mercedes Martinez and Toni Storm have both staked claims that they want Io Shirai. So I feel like they're not a very stable tag team. And I think that something could fall apart, and Carter and Catanzaro could take advantage of it. It's good to give Catanzaro a little something this time of year because they like to throw her into the Royal Rumble. So it wouldn't be surprised to see them win this match. Maybe not the whole thing, but this match I could see them pulling off. Okay, John DeConnie, that aside, we still have women's division matchup to talk about from last week. It was a very competitive match until the bell rang. Let us know. Break it down move by move. Xia Li.
Okay, yeah, well, I am known for being a little bit lengthy and going into a little too much detail here. This was a right hand and a spinning roundhouse kick for the win over someone whose name we never got.
I think that's it.
Yeah, that's pretty much it.
Xia Li gets the win.
The most intriguing part of this match was afterwards. I don't know if we can't officially call her Karen Kwan yet, but whoever this person is sitting in the throne gave a couple of hand signals, and then and that told Xia Li she needed to go back and finish the job on poor female jobber, whoever she may be.
Yeah. We're not talking about the living legend hand signal that you normally give out. This was a smash signal. All right, so there was one match set up for New Year's Evil that we didn't get to see a few weeks ago. Or maybe it was last week. I don't even remember. It's mushing together. It was a fight pit. Ciampa versus Thatcher. And we have that match tomorrow night. I think we have picked this match before because it was set up originally for a different show. But times have changed, and we need to check back in and see how everybody's feeling. So, John DeConnie, why don't we start with you? Who do you think takes the fight pit?
Okay, I'm pretty sure I originally went with Tommaso Ciampa. I'm going to stick with Tommaso Ciampa, but will be absolutely not surprised to see myself be wrong. I'm just very glad that it's no longer for points.
Fair enough. John Smith.
Yeah, originally I picked Ciampa also, but I am going to switch my pick. I don't know why Thatcher's been so secretive about his injury. And I know you say, of course you're going to be secretive, but it would still be reported. And, it's always, somebody's got a knee or an elbow or a shoulder or something. We don't know anything. So I speculated possibly a Lex Luger forearm plate. But seriously, though, it could be anything. They could go anywhere with this. Plus, it is Thatcher's match. And, I've changed my mind. I'm going with Thatcher here.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's Thatcher's casket match, or his version of the casket match, right? So that's the way I'm going with this one. All right, that does it for NXT. We will switch gears over to Friday Night SmackDown. A lot of stuff happened here. Not a lot of matches. Roman Reigns versus Adam Pearce. First, it's a no DQ. Then it's a last man standing. Then Roman Reigns is talking to Apollo Crews. All this stuff happens. Eventually, at the end of the show, Adam Pearce signs the contract. Roman Reigns signs the contract. Pearce limps his way up the ramp, turns and says, "I don't think I'll be cleared to compete. Card subject to change, as it is in any contract." a suitable replacement will be found. Cue Fight Owens Fight, and that is our match for Royal Rumble. So all of the Adam Pearce fans that got on the bandwagon and they were cheering and celebrating a comeback are let down. But we get Kevin Owens versus Roman Reigns again at Royal Rumble. Okay. I think it's a more compelling match, at least. Now, the guy that I would have liked to see in that spot was Shinsuke Nakamura, John Smith, and he opened the show with a match against Jey Uso.
Yeah, heck of a match. I'm not too sure what the heck they're doing with Cesaro and Nakamura right now, because all of a sudden they're playing face, and Cesaro's music hit a few minutes into the match, distracted Jey, whatever he came down to commentate for the match, and it was a nice back and forth main event quality match because it's main event Jey Uso. I haven't seen him put on a bad match in probably 6 years, including all of his tag team stuff. He ends up with the classic heel victory into, oh wait, no, I counted 3, but your feet were on the ropes, so it's not a victory. And then boom, Kinshasa, Nakamura wins. His momentum keeps going. Looks like it's going to lead him, like I've said, into an interesting showing at the Royal Rumble, but I think he'll fall short in that endeavor.
Yeah, that could be. And it could be that the Royal Rumble winner is somebody on the Raw side, which would then allow Nakamura to wrestle through Elimination Chamber and Fastlane and maybe pick up a opportunity there. That's typically how things are decided. Now, last year, it was a tag team Elimination Chamber match, just a tag team title Elimination Chamber match, so they didn't have one on the men's side to determine a contender. But Nakamura went back to his old music. Again, going back to your point about the heel and face business, there seemed to be Cesaro's playing a little bit closer to the heel side. Nakamura, he doesn't say much. But anyway, Jey Uso declared for the Royal Rumble. He says if he wins, that he's going to go to Raw and take the WWE Championship. And I'll ask you, John DeConnie, does that make him the head of the table?
That is the belt with all the lineage, but I don't think Roman would allow that to happen.
No, I don't think so either. And while we're talking about to you, John DeConnie, tell us about Cesaro and Daniel Bryan.
The dream match, right? This could have gotten 3 commercial breaks and 4 segments. It could have been 40+ minutes long. It wasn't terribly short, but it certainly left you wanting more. Like, I want to see it again. I want to see it in a bigger spot, maybe for the mid-card belt, and certainly longer. But we had a nice back and forth between 2 of the best technical wrestlers on the roster. We had Daniel Bryan kick the ring post at one point outside, trying to take Cesaro's head off. So he was nursing a leg injury for the rest of the match. And he had delivered an arm injury to Cesaro. So each one was kind of favoring a body part. Cesaro was able to hit the swing into the sharpshooter, switch to a crossface, which D-Bry was able to reverse into the yes-lock. Bryan went for a top rope Rana, and Cesaro was having none of it. He just muscled it right into a vertical suplex for a 2 count. Cesaro countered the Daniel Bryan running knee into an uppercut, and then ended it with the neutralizer for the win.
Biggest win of Cesaro's WWE career, I would say, for as far as singles go. Yeah. And that's talking about somebody who won the Andre the Giant Battle Royal. The first one. John Smith, King Corbin gets a win over Rey Mysterio.
Yeah, the Mysterios don't win anymore, so I wasn't that surprised. But for Corbin to actually beat him pretty much clean, Dominic got involved because Corbin hit him. Dominic on commentary was painful, by the way. They got to find something to do with him. He's got to turn on his dad, make us care. Like, he's so vanilla right now. But the match between Corbin and Mysterio was nice. It wasn't a long match. It was like your filler SmackDown style of match. And then when Dominic got on the apron to get involved a little bit. Mysterio got sent into him, and then what is it? Not the end of Dazed for the victory, and it was I love that move. So anytime I get to see End of Days, so I'm down.
Well, Bailey introduced her new talk show, and anytime she says "ding dong, hello," I'm down too. And so her special guest this week was none other than the EST of WWE, the fastest, the quickest, the blah 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 blah, Bianca Belair. And in a surprising turn of events, Bailey challenged Bianca to an obstacle course, whatever that is going to be next week. Here's the graphic. John Smith, go back to you. Obstacle course. Do you think Bailey stands a chance?
I think I'd like to see some sort of swerve where it's Bianca Belair doing a dog obstacle course against a dog. Like Bailey never specified that she was going to be in this obstacle course with her. So I'd like to see something like that, like because she's got the whole morning women's talk show kind of gimmick going on with the Ding Dong Hello. So you know how they have like little dog shows on those things. I think that will be perfect. But if it's a real obstacle course, Bailey doesn't stand a chance unless she's got a booby trapped.
Okay, John DeConnie.
Yeah, I absolutely love that idea by John Smith of the dog obstacle course. But yeah, if it's a regular obstacle course, unless there are Bailey has some minions who can actively attempt to tackle Bianca to hold her back. We've seen her beat Olympic sprinters and do all kinds of things in these vignettes, Bianca. So I don't think Bailey has a chance against her.
Yeah, me either. But I like John Smith's idea. I could see it being like, okay, ready, you go first, and then Bailey pushes her off the cliff or whatever the first obstacle is, something like that. That's the only way I see it turning out. Any way that Bailey would win. If it's an actual competition, she's going to get toasted. John DeConnie, Natalya got a win over Liv Morgan.
Yeah, she only had 4 of those, I think, all of last year. So this was a monumental event.
Yes.
So Liv came down to ringside with Ruby, of course, and Punky Billy was along for the ride. She sat in on commentary. And of course, she tried to get herself, she interrupted the match, actually ran through the ring, which had Liv so confused that she paused for a moment, and that allowed Natty to roll her up for a victory.
Unbelievable. Billy Kay, not the best member of the Riot Squad.
Billy Kay kind of fills that void that Vicky Guerrero left about 5 years ago of just like the chick you just love to hate. And she doesn't really do much, but you still love hating her.
Yeah.
Can't stand the sound of her.
Well, It just so happens that I've updated my resume, and I can now be the fill-in host. It says, of course, headshot on the front and on the back. I have my resume that says fill-in host for the Essential Wrestling Podcast. So
that's a huge get on the resume.
Yes. Yeah. Okay. Final match that we have to talk about for next week is Apollo Crews getting another shot at the Intercontinental Championship. But this time he's had some advice and mentoring and coaching and lessons from the head of the table. And it looks like Apollo was receptive. John Smith, is it enough for Apollo to get the W over Big E?
I want to say yes, but I don't think it's going to happen. Maybe by count out, but otherwise I don't see the title changing hands. But I'm going to go with Big E, but I can see Apollo winning by count out maybe.
Okay. John DeConnie?
Yeah, I feel much the same way. I don't see Big E dropping the title here. Maybe Apollo, with his mentoring from the head of the table, pulled some kind of diabolical move that leads to maybe a gimmick match at the Rumble. But I don't see the title changing hands here.
Okay. I agree. I think Big E is going to going to win this match, and not sure what that's going to do for the Roman Reigns and Apollo situation. So maybe Apollo will be facing Roman in a loser leaves SmackDown match. Okay, we're going to switch over to Raw now, and the show opens with a Randy Orton promo. John DeConnie, earlier before we went into the live broadcast here, you had a description for Randy Orton. And I'm wondering if you could tell our audience how you would describe Randy Orton today.
In my copious notes, I have it with Randy Orton, a.k.a. the Crispy Conquistador, opening the show in his Lucha Burn Victim mask.
I don't think anything more needs to be said on the subject. Randy Orton is now a Crispy Conquistador. He plans to compete in the Royal Rumble for as long as he can tolerate the pain, but he assures us that's going to be the whole match. So, John,
strawberry.
Oh, was that John?
I said his nose looked like a strawberry.
It did, like Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer, for sure. John DeConnie, Ric Flair, shown arriving with Lacey Evans. He doesn't get an opportunity to say anything. Lacey does all the talking. But meanwhile, Charlotte's in the ring with him in a match with Peyton Royce.
Yeah, and poor Peyton paid the price for Lacey and Rick really irritating Charlotte. Now, Charlotte had lost, twice in a row due to their interference, so she was not having it here. She tried to beckon them down to the ring. When they wouldn't come, she put her attention back on poor Peyton, and she beat her, of course, with the figure 8. And because she was so ticked off that Lacey was wearing dear old dad's robe, she would not let it go for a while. So Peyton, I'm sure, has suffered a terrible injury.
All right. John Smith. Matt Riddle had a conversation in the back with the Hurt Business. Things didn't go very well.
Yeah, he tried saying something smart to all 4 of them like he usually does, and nothing really ever comes out well. And then Bobby Lashley just has the other 3 go aside and says, look, I got this. Says something about Riddle's feet. I don't really remember what it was. But then Riddle had some snarky remark, and Lashley goes to stomp on Riddle's foot and completely misses. The camera catches it, gets close to his right foot. Riddle sells the left foot. He's on the ground, as they go to commercial. Then later on, when the match happens between him and Lucha House Party versus the Hurt Business, he comes out with his left ankle and foot taped up when it was so clearly closer to his right foot. But either way, didn't hit either foot.
I believe the line was something along the lines of, "Oh, you wear sandals. It's dangerous to wear sandals." And then Lashley showed him why. Something to that effect.
Yeah.
A few years ago, Kofi Mania swept the nation, and that was supposed to be Mustafa Ali's spot. Mustafa hasn't forgotten that. As a result, Retribution got a vendetta with the New Day, specifically Kofi Kingston. But until Kofi Kingston returns from jaw injury, they're going to be taking it out on Xavier Woods. This week, Mace got his turn, beating Xavier Woods. So next week, I can only imagine it'll be Slapjack. And then in other news, Nia Jax and Shayna Baszler continued to sort things out. Baszler got a win over Mandy Rose. It sounds like they are aiming for the tag titles once again. Jeff Jarrett, he has predicted that Bill Goldberg will be delivering a jackhammer and a spear in the other order at the Royal Rumble for the win. And then John Smith, AJ Styles gets a win over Ricochet to prevent him from advancing to the Royal Rumble.
Yeah, I'd like to see Ricochet in the Rumble. Maybe he will earn his spot between now and then. But, this match was incredible. You haven't seen Ricochet able to go with any of the normal guys in a while. He's always been stuck in one little feud with the Hurt Business and with teaming up with Cedric when they were together and teaming up with other guys. But getting him versus AJ, it got to show us what Ricochet is really all about. And if you haven't seen the match, I won't even describe it to you. You just got to go watch it because it was for a Raw match. It's definitely the best of the year in my opinion. And the way AJ finished him, bouncing him off the top rope, catching him in a Styles clash, and smashing him down. It was I couldn't believe what I was seeing actually. So it was great.
Yeah, it's one of those moments that you just will remember because it was such a cool finish. We had a returning superstar on the show last night after a long absence, but in his 4th decade, Gilbert returned.
I found this on the web.
Sorry, Siri interfered here. Gilbert returned, and he had a face-off with Bernard from the Santa Claus movies. If you need a reminder of who that Drew McIntyre impersonator was, it is Bernard from the Santa Claus movies. And all said and done, it was basically an episode of The Dirt Sheet with Miz and Morrison. Miz says, blah, 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 Goldberg, McIntyre, he's next. Okay. I think that's just a signal that he's getting a spear and a jackhammer. Jackson Riker is now 50-50 with Jeff Hardy. Jackson Riker lost to Hardy this week due to disqualification with Elias's interference. Bill Goldberg and Drew McIntyre will both be on Monday Night Raw next week. And then in the main event segment, John DeConnie, something fiendish this way comes.
You ain't kidding. So this started earlier on. About halfway through the show, we had Alexa's Playground, and her guest was Asuka, and they were very happy to see each other, right up until the point where Asuka almost sat on the swing next to Alexa and was warned not to do that. They talked back and forth about Alexa entering the Rumble, and if she did, she would wind up facing Asuka. And at some point, Asuka busted out a yowie wowie, and that's when things turned really bad. Alexa was pissed, and then Asuka tried to play that off by dancing around, and Alexa got more pissed. And then Asuka said the name of the Fiend, and Alexa warned him, do not say his name. Asuka said, that's enough for me. She bailed. Alexa got up from the swing and went over to the hobby horse that was already somehow rocking by itself. She jumped on that to kind of calm herself down. And that was the end of that segment. Now we come to the main event of the night, and it's Alexa Bliss versus Asuka in a non-title match. And Alexa comes out in her little black jumper, if you will, with a bright pink t-shirt underneath it, and her smiling face and her white gloves. And about 3 minutes into the match, as we're going into a commercial break, we get the little starts to go dark, but goes to commercial. We're not sure exactly what's going on. We come back from commercial, and Alexa's pink shirt is now black. She's got on extra eye makeup and black lipstick, and suddenly she feels no pain. She's dodging or blocking all Asuka's kicks and punches. Once Asuka lands a couple, she no-sells them. Clearly, the Sheen has arrived. And we get she even goes into the corner and does the half upside down. She doesn't do the crab walk, but she does at least the pose that backs Asuka off as she was charging into the corner. Once again, she no-sells a couple more kicks and hits Sister Abigail for a clean victory over the Raw Women's Champ in a non-title match. We come back to end the segment, and she's back in her pink shirt and her smiling face, but ends the show with "Let me."
All right, guys. Here's what we're gonna do. I'm gonna count backwards from 5. When I get to 0, I'm gonna kill your cameras, and I'm gonna count to 5 again. And when I turn them back on, I'm expecting completely a change of makeup and a complete wardrobe change. Ready? I'm just kidding.
I could have actually made that happen.
The makeup too?
I was about to sprint. I was going to do it.
I actually have a themed mask behind me that my next door neighbor bought for Halloween to scare his grandchild. Grab that and put it on real quick.
Okay. The next time I'm host, we're doing this. Or maybe we all do it 2L next week.
There you go.
All right. Well, I want to update everybody on where we stand with the Royal Rumble. So on the women's side, as you can see, Alexa Bliss and Shayna Baszler are officially in the match. Bliss with that win over Asuka seems to push her way into heavy favorite territory. I'm still leaning Ronda Rousey, but we'll see. On the men's side, we add Jeff Hardy to the list. On SmackDown, we added Cesaro and Jey Uso. So things are shaping up there. We've got about a third of the field in both matches. Either of you guys have a definitive winner yet?
I still like Daniel Bryan, but I'm still not sure.
Okay.
I think the most intriguing thing right now would be for Riddle to win this match and Goldberg to win the title. Riddle challenge Goldberg, but they're never going to do that. So I got no definitive prediction yet.
Well, our expert analysis will continue, and we will break everything down once we have all the information on January 30th. And by that point, I'm sure we'll be able to come up with at least a confidence level in the 75% range of who we think might win. Again, Saturday, January 30th at 3 p.m., it's a special edition of the Essential Wrestling Podcast. It's our Royal Rumble special. Everybody you've seen on the show week in, week out, it's going to be on there, and we're going to break down the Royal Rumble. It's going to be a great time. It'll really improve your enjoyment of the show. Al usually brings a bunch of stats, and guys, I heard this time there's going to be snacks. So watch for that. Number 11 on Al's favorite 30 WrestleMania matches of all time, and we are closing in on 2 hours. I'm gonna have to get off the air here soon, but I gotta mention WrestleMania 3, Randy Macho Man Savage versus Ricky Steamboat for the Intercontinental Championship. That was his number 11 pick. Many people, that's number 1. So it was a classic match. I loved the whole riding the little tiny chariot rings to the ring, and Steamboat got the babyface win here. We didn't get to see the rematch at WrestleMania 4, but it is by far an all-time classic. It is the match that was being discussed earlier this year when we had the Randy Orton Edge greatest match ever, or whatever it was called. Smith, DeConnie, anything on this match that you want to share?
Just that, no lesser people than I think Edge and Christian, always point to that as something that I think the two of them said that they recreated, what was it, all 23 near falls, very early on in their training days, and what it might have even been in their basement on couch cushions. I don't know, but it spawned a lot of wrestlers, and it absolutely is an all-time classic.
For me, I've probably only seen the match once, to be honest with you, and it was probably when I rented it back in the day. Like, I don't go back and watch. I will go back and watch matches sometimes, and for some reason, this has never been one of the matches I gone back to watch as an adult. So I got to do that soon.
Well, you know what? Probably part of it is that because it's talked about so much, and it's all you've seen probably the whole match through video clips, probably a dozen times. At least the key spots.
Right.
But it's an excellent match. Okay, real quick. Let's see how fast I can do this. We have a giveaway. If you want to win this Jim the Anvil Neidhart autograph picture, courtesy of Sideline Sports and Memorabilia, all you have to do is go to this video on YouTube, hit subscribe, RKO the notification bell, and make a comment with the hashtag EWPAnvil. We'll be announcing the winner at 200 subscribers, so make sure you stay tuned for when we're announcing the winners. The Primetime Rundown, powered by StreamYard with Joey Jarzenka, Ian Schreier, and Rob DeLuca, is airing 6 p.m. on Fridays. Don't miss it. We talk about the scripted sports here. They talk about the non-scripted sports there. So don't miss that. And then also, we have For college sports fans out there, and for those pursuing a career in collegiate athletics, there's an interview coming up that might be for you. Join Ian Schreier on Monday, January 25th at 8 p.m., where he welcomes co-SIDA President Sam Atkinson to the show. For more information, follow us on social media or log on to easternobserver.com. Tune in to the Daily Wrestling News Show every day, Monday through Thursday at 10 a.m. This crew is on there, and we have a good time talking about the daily's news. I do usually have an occasional interview with independent talent or promoter, and those are always fun to watch out. And just for me, please do go subscribe to the Body Slam Brigade newsletter. It's a free weekly update of all the week's news, top stories in wrestling. It's free. It comes to you on Fridays. The Black Cats, their album called Free Cake. Everybody likes free cake. You can listen to it everywhere you can listen to music. So do check it out. And finally, last but not least, check us out here next week as we bring you episode 38, which I'm saying now is a convergence episode because of the same day I will be doing episode 38 of the Daily Wrestling News Show. So you're not going to want to miss either of those shows. And we'll have to do something special around the number 38. Maybe we'll blow out candles or something. Ladies and gentlemen, that's our show. John DeConnie, take us home.
Thanks for joining us. And as always, we wish you the best in all your future endeavors.